Hey guys, what's going on? This is Neat here. It is Thursday, March 22nd. So I'll start Thursday Thoughts this week by talking about the new iPad, which has been available to the public for a little under a week now. So this week, Apple announced their earnings for or the amount of iPads that they sold in the first 4 days since its launch, and they sold 4 million devices. So this is a record-breaking sales number for them. But of course, it's not shocking. Apple has had a lot of sales records in the past. Now, to give you an idea of how many iPads they sold this go around, I want to talk about how many iPads Apple sold when the iPad was initially launched about 2 years ago. And it took them 29 days to sell their first 1 million iPads. So you'll see that they definitely have come a long ways, now selling 4 million in just 4 days. Now also this go around, Apple seems to have a much better control of how much stock is available of the new iPad. With the iPad 2, once pre-orders or once the device actually went on sale, since there wasn't pre-orders, the amount of stock on Apple's online website started slipping drastically from 2 to 3 weeks to even up to a month, and it stayed like that for quite a long time. This go around, after about 3 days of pre-orders being available online, stock slipped to 2 to 3 weeks, but this week it now went back to 1 to 2 weeks. So that's a very good sign that we could see the iPad shipping in 1 to 3 days and maybe even 24 hours in the next couple of months. Also, what's amazing is a Boyd Genius report called a lot of the stores on March 16th in New York, the Apple retail stores, to see what kind of stock they had left of the iPad, and none of them were actually completely sold out of the device itself. And usually we do see sellouts, and this is not indicative of the fact that not a lot of people were coming out to buy an iPad. It was just the fact that Apple definitely had a much larger availability of the new iPad, with production beginning as early as early January anyway. So Apple definitely had things working properly to make sure as many people as possible could get a device on launch day. Apple, of course, doesn't just make a lot of their revenue through hardware. They're also making a lot of money now through applications. We saw the iPhoto application being demoed at the new iPad event, and since that application went on sale, it has sold over 1 million copies of the application itself. Now this app sells for $4.99. It's available on the iPod Touch, iPhone, and iPad, and since over 1 million people have downloaded it, that's roughly about $5 million in revenue for Apple just for that one single application that they developed. Also this week there's been a lot of information coming out about the new iPad and how well it performs. The A5X chip has been benchmarked and compared to NVIDIA's Tegra 3 chip, which currently powers the Asus Transformer Prime. We've seen how good the quality is of the 5 megapixel camera and the 1080p video, so a lot of good stuff has been reported this past week. I'm not really going to go into too much detail about that stuff because I will hopefully be posting an iPad review sometime this weekend, since I've had it for a little less than a week now. I want to have a full week to give you guys the most comprehensive review that I can of this device. But I did want to talk about the heat issues that some sites are saying that the new iPad has. Now, the new iPad definitely does run hotter than the iPad 2. It runs about 10 to 13 degrees hotter in some situations. Now, the reason for this is for a lot of different things. First of all, the display itself has 4 times the amount of pixels than the iPad 2. That right there is definitely putting off more heat. With those additional pixels, more heat is being put off by the device itself. Also, the A5X chip is going to run much hotter since it has those quad-core graphics that has to power that very high-resolution Retina display. That adds more heat right there. You could also have 4G LTE connectivity, so that chip is going to add even more heat. So there's really no reason to question why the new iPad runs hotter than the iPad 2. It's for those factors right there. But does that additional 10, 13 degrees make using the device uncomfortable? Absolutely not. And I just think a lot of people were shocked to see that it ran hotter than the iPad 2. Maybe they were surprised to see that. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with this at all. All devices do this. If you've got a computer or a laptop that you've ever put on your lap and you run some very intensive applications on it, you notice that the computer definitely starts to heat up. So there's really no reason to question why the new iPad gets hotter than the iPad 2. So to wrap up Thursday Thoughts today, I'll talk about 2 possible things that may come in Apple's next generation iPhone that will hit later this year. The first is a new SIM card size that would be called a nano SIM card. This would be up to 3 times thinner than Apple's current micro SIM card technology used in the iPhone 4, 4S, as well as the iPad 2 and the new iPad. So this new SIM card size What it would do is give more room for Apple with their internal parts, such as making a bigger battery, so that your devices can last longer. With the iPhone 4, Apple's one of the first to adopt the new micro SIM card technology, and as the months went on and years went on, a lot more smartphone manufacturers started to adopt it. So Apple's currently working, reports are saying that Apple's currently working with carriers such as AT&T to figure out what the next SIM card size standard will be, and that supposedly is that new nanometer SIM card. I don't know if we will see it in the next generation iPhone this year, but I definitely think over the next couple of years, the SIM card will in fact get smaller. Also this week, we're hearing reports of the next generation iPhone and how big the display will be on the device. One report is suggesting it will get a 4.6-inch size screen. I definitely don't think that's plausible at all. Apple has stuck at the same 3.5-inch screen size since the iPhone was released in 2007, so I don't expect them to make a leap that far. But another report is suggesting that it will get a 4-inch screen size. I think this is much more plausible, as a lot of other smartphone manufacturers are producing displays on smartphones that are bigger than the iPhone. I don't think Apple wants to get left behind with that same 3.5-inch screen size. And that report comes from the same people that said the new iPad would in fact be thick, a little bit thicker than the iPad 2. They said 0.6, and it turned out to be 0.7. So I think the credibility of this source is pretty good. And they also mentioned that the iPhone that Apple is currently working with a 4-inch screen type is just in the prototyping phase. It does not mean that we will see it in its final release. So thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Please like it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.